Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Juliet Adeoye. I'm presenting on behalf of the Data Squad of Retypons. So today our presentation centers around SQL. We're going to be providing some very high-level introduction to SQL and some of the sample queries that you can run on SQL. So we're going to do a presentation and also a quick demo as well on the environment. So I'll run through the agenda very quickly. I'll give a very quick definition or explanation of what SQL is, give examples of some of the basic query commands on SQL, and then we'll look a little bit into the joins on SQL and what they are there for. And then we'll have a very quick look into what we refer to as keys on SQL as well. Okay, so what is SQL? So by definition, SQL, the acronym SQL means structured query language, and it's basically a programming language that is used to query data within a database. So it basically helps you to understand the data that you're working with. What are the content of this data? What are the properties, the specifics of the data that you're working with? And the most common type of database that is used by SQL is what we call the relational database. A relational database are structured data that are usually stored as tables. So tables in the sense that you have a column, a couple of columns and rows as well. So the columns are so if we can look at it from a tabular analogy. So the column is like the vertical, the vertical data, and then looking at it horizontally is where you have the rows. So the columns are the attributes of the rows. If I hope that makes sense, but hopefully we'll get to understand that a bit more as we proceed. There are other type of data that can be queried on SQL, like non-relational, but commonly the type of data that you would want to query within the SQL is the relational database because it's structured, it's easy to, there is relationship between the data, between the columns and the rows. So what are the categories of SQL languages? We have what we call the data definition language, so the DDL for short. These are used to define the structure of a database, and basically what you're doing is you're changing some attributes of the database as well. And some of these changes can be irreversible, which you would be doing some like permanent changes to the database. And some examples of the commands that you would use for this create, alter, drop, truncate, and rename. So these are some examples of some of the commands that you would use within the SQL environment um, to define the structure of the database. To create it, basically, you want to create a new table within the database, which, as you can imagine, is going to be a permanent change because you're creating a new table. You're not changing an existing table. You can alter either moving columns here and there. You can drop, you can truncate, you can rename. So these changes often tend to be irreversible. And then we have what we call the data manipulation language, DML for short. And these are basically used to modify the data within the database. So you're not changing the data per se. You're just modifying it. You're trying to understand, what is within the data. And oftentimes these changes are reversible because you're just trying to extract information. You're trying to understand what data is saying. An example, the commands that you would use for this would include select, insert, update, delete, and merge. There are probably more commands, but these are just the few that I have put on the slide. So you're just trying to extract information from the data, but you're not actually making any direct change to the database, if that makes sense. All right. So let's go into some of the basic commands that you would use on SQL. Some of the queries, the command queries that you would apply on SQL. So one of the basic ones is where, for example, you've been given a database. The first thing as a data analyst, the first thing you want to do, you want to look at the data. You want to understand what's actually in there. What the information that is being provided to me. I need to know what are the rows, what are the column headers, what is the data showing me. So to return all the columns and rows within the particular table, we use what we call the select function. So this is an example of a command within SQL. So if you use the select star and then you include the name of the table, what you will get, what that will return is all the information within that particular table that you're interested in. So it will give you all the rows and all the columns within the table. And that way you can begin to understand that, okay, this is the table of employees within the company. This is a table showing me the salaries of the employees and all of that. So you want to begin to understand what that data is actually saying. And then subsequently, if once you maybe had a look at the whole data, but then you want to maybe drill into some specific columns within the data, because sometimes you're given a database that has quite a number of columns, quite a number of rows, and it's quite a big data set to look at within a short period of time. You can actually select particular columns that you're interested in. So say you're given a whole database and you really just want to look at the columns showing you the salaries of the employees, or if we come into the prep major environment, for example, you want to see how many interns are registered as Scrum Masters or registered as data analysts or something like that. So you want to be more specific in terms of what you're looking for. You can actually specify the columns that you're interested in. And that's where, instead of using the star, you would include the name of the column that you're interested in. So column ID 1, column ID 2, and on like that. But then from this particular table, and what that would return is the specific column that you've specified, and that's the only columns that you will get. And it will give you all the rows of data within that column. So it kind of trims down the data that you're having to look at or analyze. All right, more basic commands. So this is where things start to get a bit more interesting within SQL. So you can apply what we refer to as where clauses within SQL, and there are quite a number of the where clauses. So the first one I've got here is comparison. So maybe you want to look at, for example, in a database, you want to look at the employees that are earning greater than £3,000, for example. You want to see who's earning above a particular amount or below, or you want to see those that are earning a particular amount, things like that. So you can use the comparison clause. You can also do a range. You want to know those that are earning between 1,000 and 2,000 pounds, for example. You want to see that salary range. And you can do a pattern match if you're looking for a particular data within that table. So for example, maybe you've been asked at a DA to please extract for me the people that have the surname McGregor, for example. So you want to see how many people actually have that surname. You can use what is called the pattern match. So you'll be I'll give you a sample function, a sample query. So here you would say select from this table and this column ID like McGregor or something like that. So it will only give you the rows of data that have that particular condition that you specified. And then we have other examples like wildcard, double wildcard underscore. So these are also used to trim down the data that you're working with. So you want to see those whose surname starts with letter I, for example. You can use the wildcard, double wildcard function to extract that data. Or you want to see, maybe you're looking for an address, for example. Maybe your line manager has asked you at a DA, could you please extract for me the people that live within this postcode? Maybe there's something they want to do in that area. You can use this function to extract that data. Okay, that you're only interested in seeing the rows of data or the columns, the rows of data that whose postcode are within EH1 or something like that. So that trims down the number of data set that you're looking at, that you're analyzing. And I've just put here an example of the comparison function, just so we see what it looks like. Well, when we go to the demo, we'll get to showcase quite a number of these functions, so we actually see how it works. Still on the basic command, so we have what we call the order by. Order by is used to sort data. So if you want to sort the name, maybe the last name, you want to sort it alphabetically, ascending order or descending order, you can use this function. And this is an example of a query that you would run to sort the data by name and things like that. Okay, so we're now moving to what we call join command on SQL. So generally speaking, joins are used to extract data from multiple tables, or sometimes even from the same table, depending on the kind of joins you're running. So it's been used to extract data from multiple tables based on the common keys between them. So maybe you have two tables you're working with, but you want to extract data from both tables based on either maybe the student ID or the order number or something like that. So that's what joins are. And there are different types of joins. We have the inner join, left join, right join, full join, cross join, and self join, and probably more, but these are the few that I've put here on the slide. So we'll look at a few of them in a bit more detail. So we have the inner join. The inner join is used to return data from all rows from both tables that satisfy a specific condition. So I've got table A, yeah, and I've got table B, and I want to extract the data from both tables that meets, what I've specified as a condition, and that what you would run, it will return is the data that satisfy the condition from both tables. So if we remember our is it high school maths now, where we have sets? I don't know how many of us can remember that far back, where we have the sets. You have set one, set two, and you were doing is it the union? I can't remember the terms now. But these are examples, just to relate that to some of the high school mathematics that we did back in high school. So what you will end up with is the data that is common between the two tables, and that's what the query function will return. So that's the inner join. For the left join, so the left join returns return all the data from the left table, and then the matched data from the right table. So if you look at the analogy I've got at the bottom here, so I've got table A, which is in this case my left table. So if I run the left join function, it would return all the data from table A and any data in table B that meets the specified function that I've put in the query. So you would end up having all the data from table A and the data from table B that matches the condition that I've set in my query. All of this will probably make a bit more sense when we run the demo. Maybe that might help to explain this, because analysis is something that you do as opposed to trying to explain. All right. Right join. So for the right join is basically the opposite of the left join. So what you would running the right join query, you would end up with all the data from the right table and any data within the left table that matches the condition that you've specified. So just as we see on the analogy at the bottom here, so you get all the data from table B and any data from table A that matches the condition that you're after. And then full join basically returns all the matching records from both tables, whether the other table matches or not. So basically it returns all the data from both tables together. So that's what you see on the analogy here. So we'll run some examples on the SQL environment for us to see. So that's on joins. I've just allowed. I've just explained four of the types of join, but like I said, there are more examples of join, but I've just picked those four to drill into. So let's look very quickly. We're looking at some the buzzwords, so to speak, on SQL, and one of them is keys. So what do we what are keys? So I've mentioned earlier that in SQL, a database or a table is typically made up of columns of data that are contained in rows. So for example, if you look at this, this is an artifact from an Excel data. So what we can see here, there are some headers at the top here. So the order ID, the order date, ship month, all of these top, they are the column headers or the fields. And then the data that you see under them, like if you look, so if you look horizontally, so these are the rows of data. So under the other ID, you have the CA 2016 and all of that and on like that. So the columns are also referred to as fields, which are used to, they are the attributes of the data that you have at the, under the rows. So the column headers are defined as keys. So all of these headers, order ID, order date, ship month, all of these top rows here, they are referred to as keys on SQL. So order ID is a key, order date is a key, and these are what you would use to attribute the table within the database. So it is the attribute used to identify the data. So I've mentioned that. So when I'm looking at the order ID, I know that all the data below it they are all showing me the other IDs that I have on my table. And if I look at the ship mode, for example, the rows of data, I can see second class, standard class. So I can see the types of ship mode that we have within this data. So that's what the keys are. They are useful to identify the data that is shown on the rows, within the rows. And they are also used to create relationships between multiple tables. So if I had this table and I had another table, I can try and, so if I go back to my join command, if I have another table that also have maybe other ID, for example, I can use the other ID on the two tables to create a relationship to extract data from the two tables using these common key, the other ID. So just for an example of the importance of keys. So it's quite important to know what these keys are and what they are actually saying, what they're actually showing us. And we can see here customer name. So we can see the customers that we have within this table. So there are different types of keys in SQL, but we're focusing on three actually. That's meant to be three. Apologies for that. So we're going to be showing three types of keys within SQL. So the first, we have the primary key. So primary keys is a unique identifier, a unique column of within that table that is used to identify that table. So if I'm looking at a table of data, the primary key, in a way tells me what I'm looking at. So for example, looking at the table I have here, if the other ID is taken as the primary key, so other ID, so already that tells me that the data that I'm looking at has to do with orders, it has to do with particular orders that were made, either, and then I can look at the subsequent column that, okay, this order 2016 152 156 was made on this date, blah blah blah, and on like that. So it's used to identify what the data is showing, and it must contain unique values. So we have unique values within the table, and they cannot be null, because imagine if the key is used to identify the table, then there wouldn't be an empty data within that table. They would all contain something, some data. And generally, a table can only have one primary key, because that is the key that you would use to attribute that table. And then subsequently, we have the secondary keys. So here you can then have multiple secondary keys. So again, going back to my Excel data, so given that the order ID is my primary key, that is what it used to attribute the table. Subsequent, oops, apologies. The subsequent columns, so the order date, the ship date, they are all related to that order ID. So all the other subsequent columns, order date, ship mode, and all of that, they are referred to as secondary keys because they are all connected to that primary key that I have on the first column. Okay, so a table can have more than one secondary keys, and they all have relationship with the primary key. So, for example, if I pick out, say, this customer ID, for example. So I'm looking at SO to 20335. Okay, so this is customer ID. So I want to know what other ID does that relate to. I'll need to then go back to my primary key. I want to know, okay, Sean O'Donnell, what other ID does that relate to? So they all have relationship with the primary key. They are not standalone data. They are all related. All right. And then finally, we have the foreign key. The foreign keys are columns that are used to link data in one table to the data in another. So, and they are often the primary key on the original table. So I would explain that. So I've got screenshot of two tables here. I've got a table of team employee. So on the top table, I've got a table with employee key as the primary key because that is the key, that is a column that is the attributes of the table. So all the subsequent columns within that first table, the employee, national, the first name, last name, all of that, they are all related to the employee key. So on the first table here, the employee key is the primary key. And then when we come down to the second table here, where is a table of the employee sales territory now. So we can see that we can still see the employee key here, but then we have a second column showing the sales territory key. So we can say that on this table, the sales territory key is the primary key because that is the column that attributes the properties of this particular table, which then means that the employee key is a foreign key that has been extracted from the dim employee. I hope that makes sense in a way. So yes, so the employee key on this second table at the bottom here, it is a foreign key, even though it's a primary key on this table. But because they're trying to create a relationship between the two tables, the two columns have come together on one table. But on this table here, the employee key is actually the foreign key because it was the primary key from the table above. And I think that's all I've got in terms of presentation. So now I'll pass on to Daniel to show us some demo on so we're going to be using the SQL Microsoft Studio for the SQL to show us some live demonstration of the queries that we can have on SQL. So I'll stop sharing and over to you, Daniel. 2 seconds. Just gonna stop sharing.
Okay. Thank you, Juliet. That was spot on. So good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Odie, and I'm a data analyst on Data Squad. So I'll be sharing my screen. So we could just go to the demo. So please, can anyone see my screen?
We can see
Sorry,
your
can you see
screen.
my
but-
screen?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
But we're seeing
So
Teams. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can see it now.
Yeah.
okay, so this is the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio window. So this is where we work with our queries to select queries from the database. And we've already been connected to the database which we're going to use, which is called AdventureWorks. So if I click on this plus sign, So there's a drop down. So it gives us this adventure. So this is the database that we're using, AdventureWorks database. So if I click on the AdventureWorks database, it gives you, different sources or things that are on the database. But basically for today, we'll be working with the tables, like what my colleague said. And from the tables, we have, there are different tables from the AdventureWorks. We have the dim account, dim currency, customer, so many tables like that. And the reason why we're going to do queries, because we can't, for instance, if you want to work with a particular table and you need it to do analysis or you need it to do visualization, you need to extract, data from that table using the SQL command. So those are what she just talked about, using the select statement, using the conditions, which are the where clauses, and using joins as well. So from there, we have to come to, for us to make use of this table, we need to create a new query. And this is where we click on new query. So it gives you this, bright open window. So this is where we'll insert all our commands. So for the first thing we need to do is we need to state the database we're going to use. So by using a word called use. So when it turns blue like this, it means like a command has been activated, or let me say selected. So it says use, then you now state what you want to use. AdventureWorks. Sorry, yes, AdventureWorks. I could have double clicked on that, but I just want to take it through. 2020, then you just click on enter. So once you do that, then we now need to select. So this is where the select statement comes in. So sorry, so you can so for you to work on the select statement, you need to select from the tables you want to use. For instance, let's just say we want to make use of the dim, that's the dim customer, that's the customer table. So what I would do is I would just say select. Let me make it. You can make use of capital letter or small letter. It doesn't matter. So I'll just say select. To select, I'm going to do something now because I know Mr. DG asked about what the star. There's an asterisk, like a star symbol. What does it do? So I'm going to do something now. So select. That's from. That's a beam. Sorry, beam customer. Now, once I do this, I just need to, highlight and execute. So the reason why you're executing is it's just like as if you're running a code. So you execute it, and once you click on execute, so it gives you this incorrect syntax near the keyword from. So the reason why it's saying this is because anytime it gives this error, it's because the command is not correct or it's not complete. And you need to go back and see what you've done. Now, when Mr. DG asked about what is the function of this command star, now the function of this command is just to, it gives you, should I say, it means to select all records. That means to select all records on the table. So without the star, your command is incorrect. So now let's just run it again. Now, as you can see that everything has been put in place. So now you can see your table because you added this star. So anytime you're working on this on SQL and you want to select, you remember to add this star, like this asterisk command, so that it can give you what you're looking for. Now, so from this table, we can see that it has already given us the table for the customer. So we have the customer key, we have the geographic key, and so many other columns, or you call them field. So this is like a column, or you call them fields. Then these are rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, just to show you the information that are in the table. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the conditions where Juliet said the clauses, where we have the where clauses. And to do this, we'll need to select. So in this instance, I would just like to select some columns. I might not want to use everything. You can decide to do that. You can decide to use all columns. So in this instance, I'll just want to select some of the columns. That means the field, or on top of this, the table, the names of the columns on this. So I just want to select some of them, and what I would do is select. You can either select customer. I just want to select the name. As customer key, and I'll put a comma. So a comma is like you're differentiating the columns or the fields that you need. And I press enter. First name. Then middle name. So please, if you can still hear me, can I? Because I can't see anything. It's just what I'm working with. Please, can you
Yes,
indicate if you can hear me,
you.
please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The last name. Then marital status. Then yearly income. Yearly income. So the next one will be from, because the table you want to select it from, so it will be from. This from is another command. Another command. So you're selecting from this table called DBO bin customer. So once I select this and I execute, let me just select from the top. Okay. So it has given me two tables. The reason why I have two tables is because, for instance, the first time I said select from dim customer. So it gave me all the data on the table for dim customer. Then sorry, for the dim customer, the reason why it's called dim customer is because of what we have here. So whatever you have here in terms of the title that has been named, that's what you're going to use for your query. Normally, if you have other tables, they can just say customer. So it's not necessary that it has to be dim. So for other tables that you might have, it might say customer or date. It might not be dim. So it's just because of what we have here. That's why we're using this. Now, So I've actually selected what I wanted. That's the customer first name, last name, marital status, yearly income from this deemed customer. So this is what it gave me. So it has been able to, it has been able to give me what I want, not what, not what it has on the table, like all the things that it has, all the data information that it has. So I've been able to select, or let me say, and pick what I need to work with. So that is the select statement for selecting and displaying what you want. So the next one is we now need to go to the where clause. So the where clause is all about where you talk about comparison, where you say greater than, less than, equal to. So in this instance, I'll be making use of the yearly income just to, distinguish what we need in terms of maybe you just want you want information or data from people that have been earning maybe 60,000 or less. When we run the command, it will give us just the number of people that have been earning, 60,000 or less. So it's more like as if you're trying to filter out your information. It's just like as if when you're searching for an apartment online and you say that, okay, filter, I want a 1 to 3 bedroom, I want a 2 to 3, 4 bedroom or 5 bedroom. So once you do that and you click on enter, it gives you, the the number of bedrooms that you specified. So it's just like a computer, garbage in, garbage out. So that's what you get. So now we're going to do we're going to make use of the where clauses. And so what I'll do is what I'll do now is since I've written this from this and this, then I could just say where I'm now using the condition statement now, where yearly income is greater than, let's just say yearly income is greater than 80,000. So if I just run this, so it has given me, when I say yearly income is greater than 18,000, so from this table, you would find that everything on this side, it's giving me 80,000 or more. So this is 90,000. This is 130,000. This is 150,000. And when I scroll down, I can't find anything lesser than 80,000 here. So everything that you find here is 80,000 and more. And also, for you to know that this has, gone through or it has worked, is so we have, now this is, let me expand this. Yeah. So this is 3,040 rows. So now when I take out this one, and I run this again, and I scroll down, just to show that your table has been affected or it has been filtered out. Now you see that normally without adding the yearly income of 80,000 or more, you have 18,484 rows. But after adding the where clause where you want just yearly income of 80,000, something that's greater than 80,000, it's going to give you just 3,000 and something rows. Now, just to be sure, you can see that this is 20,000, 20, 20, 20, 30, 30,000. So when I run this again, and I say, okay, now give me yearly income that is greater than 80,000. So, it gives you what we had earlier, and you will notice that the number of rows have reduced to 3,000 and 3,040. So that is for greater than. So if I do less than, so I'll take this out and I do less than 80,000, and we run this again, you will notice that all the 120 you're seeing, the 90,000, the 110 won't be there anymore. So less than 80,000. Now, as you can see, we have 60, 60, 70, 70, 70, 60, 60. That means anything lesser than 80,000, you will find. But anything above 80,000, you would not find it here. So as you can see, we have 20,000, 1,000, 60,000, and so many more like that. Now, the number of rows as well, we have 14,102 rows, meaning that we have a lot of people earning lesser than, we have a lot of people earning lesser than 80,000, and they're like 14,000. People that are earning more than 80,000 are like 3,000 something. So you can also use this to, just to find your facts. So that is that for greater than and less than. And if you do equal to 80,000, so it has to be exactly 80,000. Now, when you run this, so it gives you all 80,000, everything 80,000. As you can see from here, it gives you everything is 80,000, everything, all the values are 80,000. It means that Elizabeth, Mark, Ashley, John, all these names are earning 80,000. All of them are earning 80,000, and that is as 1,000 and 1,342 persons are earning 80,000 on the dot. So that is for equal to. And there's another command or where clause that says another command, sorry, that says when you use this command that says not equal to. When you say not equal to 80,000, it means that any other figure that is not 80,000 can be displayed. Anything that is 80,000 will not be displayed. And once I run this, I highlight and I execute. So it gives you different numbers that are different figures that are not 80,000, different, even from the lowest to the highest, but they will not be 80,000. And the rows will be so many. That's 17,142. So that is for, the where clause. That is for the where clause. Now, we also want to do range. So if you want to do range, that will be between and not between. Between and not between. So when I do yearly income, I'll take this out. So from redeem customer, where yearly income between. So let's just say between 90,000 and 100,000. Yes. So once we run this, so it gives us the number of persons that earn between 90,000 and 100,000. So once we run this, so this is it. So, the number of people that are earning between 90 and 100,000, these are the names: John, Lauren, Sydney, Trevor. The reason why you're seeing null in the middle name is because the names or their names were not stated for this one. It was left blank, or anything non like zero, nothing was included. It was left blank. That's why you're saying null. So these are the people that are earning between 90 and 100,000. That would be 90, it might be 91,000, 92, 95. It must be between 90 and 100,000. So these are the people that are earning between 90 and 100,000. So when I extend this, these are just 1,413 persons that are earning between 90 and 100,000. So when I do the not between, that's another clause that says between and not between. So between and not between 90 and 100,000. So what it's going to do is that anything that is not between 90,000 to 100,000, it will give it to us. That means it will give us 89,000, 89,999. It will give us 100,001 and above. So anything that is not between 90 to 100K, sorry, 90 to 100,000, it will, it will give us. So this is just another way. This is 60, 60, 70, 80. So there's no 90, there's no 100. So you see 110, you see 150, 120, 130, and so many more like that. So that is just for the where clause that has to do with inserting different commands where not between comparison greater than, not greater than, equal to, not equal to. So then there is another one that is the pattern match. So this is where you say, okay, I want so and so, like maybe you are looking for a name, anything that has to do with Brown, like Brown, any name that has to do with Brown, I want you to give it to me. So in this instance, we just have to take out this one. This time I will be making use of last name. So it will be select, after you've listed all your customer key, first name, middle name, last name, marital status, yearly income. From is very important. It's just like you're writing a story, you need to put your where from, all those things. So from, you need to select from which table, from dim customer table, where let's just say where marital status. We're trying to select people that are married or single, sorry, where marital status like. So this is another command, like. So we're just going to put married just to find out the number of people that are married here. So it stays, the marital status says M or S. So I could just put M, then I'll close it. So this, let me try this. I'm not sure if it's going to run because it's giving me, okay, it did. Yeah, so for this, you can see that from the table, everything you have here is showing the number of people that are married. So you could just extract your information. So you can extract your information from this just to show that, oh, all of them are married. These are the number of people that are married on the customer table. And that's 10,011 persons that shows married. So if I change this to S, which is single, and I run this, now it shows people that are single. These are people that are single. The number of people that are single, everything is just saying SSS, which shows the number of people that are single. That's 8,473. I know you will notice that the number of rows changes at every instance that you change what you're looking for. So if you have a particular need and you change it to what you need, it gives you a different number of rows, and it gives you what you actually need. So that is for the marital status. So I'll take this away, and I'll just to show you another column. When I say, so we're trying to find out using their last name this time around instead of using marital status. So I'll just say where last name where last name like, let's just say Brown. We need customers that their names for last name are like Brown. That means customers that their name starts with Brown for last name, that's their surname. So once you execute this, so it gives you the number of Browns that we have, the number of Brown persons in terms of their names. So this is James. This is James Brown. This is Nicholas Brown, Jessica Brown, Dylan Brown. So many Browns are here, and so it's what is the command that we did is working with the last name. So anything that has to do with Brown, that has a last name that is called Brown, it gets to display them, and these are the number of people that are called Brown. 11, just 11. We have 11 rows. That means 11 persons are called Brown here. Now, when I say not like Brown, when I say not like Brown, not like Brown, that means give me other names that are not, give me other last names that are not like Brown. So any other name that is not Brown, in terms of surname, it will display, and I execute it. So now you see last name have changed. So we have different, different last names: Sanchez, Garcia, Ashi, Joe, and the likes. So that's just the condition statement that we have. Then there's another one called order by. So order by is actually it has to do with how you want the table to be. You order by ascending or descending order. So it has to do with alphabetical. If I'm going to use like names, so it will do it in ascending or descending order. So for the order by, so I'll just take this out. Okay. Let me just press. Let me do this. And if you're trying to make this order by first name, in descending order. When I select this and I execute, so remember I said where last name not like Brown. So you will not find any last name that is called Brown. The thing that you will now find, since you're now you're now more distinct in the sense that you want names ordered by first name, names that are that are in descending order. That's the first name that are in descending order. So if you say order by last name, descending order, and you don't use this Brown, so it gives you, the last name that starts with Z. It's just like alphabetical order from Z to A to Z. So when I did order by first name in descending order, so you will see that Zoe is the first person on the row. Then from Zoe, we have Sydney.
Yeah, I did it.
We have Sydney. And if you keep scrolling down, sorry, you see that the names are in descending order. So the last bit will be like A. So that's Alan or Aaron. So that's another clause where you have order by. So that is that for And that is that for this particular select statement, making use of select statement and conditions and where clauses and pattern match. So the next one we're going to do is so these are just basic commands in SQL. There are other SQL is like a wild course. It's very wide. So these are just the basic ones, introductory to SQL. So the next one we're going to do is the joins. Now, like what my colleague explained, the joins are like you're trying to, join table A to table B, but you're not trying to just merge everything together. You're trying to take out what you need from each of the table and bring them to form like one table. It's just like a father and a mother, you know, coming together, then it produces an hybrid. That's a child. So it's just like that's like a join, in my own explanation. So I'll create a new query, since this is just for the select statement and for where clauses and conditions. So I'll create a new query to do our join. So this is another blank um, query page to do our join. And what I would do is I'll make sure I use, like I said, you can either make use of capital or small letter for your command. So use adventure work. Since I've done that earlier, so I'll just double click on this. It gives me this, and I press on enter. Then I do what? I will now say select, and we'll make sure to have the star, the asterisk, sorry. Select from So what I'll be using, the table I'll be making use for this join is the dim employee. That's this one that my cursor is on. I'll be making use of the dim employee and the dim employee sales territory. So those are the tables I'll be making use of to join together. So select from DBO dim employee. Then I'll now, so the reason why I did this was just to display the table, because when I execute this, so it gives you the the information on the dim employee. That's the table, the column, and the rows on dim employee, the information that's got in it. And from here you can see that it states that we have 296 rows. So when I scroll down, I need to confirm that that's 296. That's the last bit. Then the columns are, we have more than 10 or 20 columns. So that's for the dim employee. Now I also want to, display the other table, and that is the dim sales territory. That's the sales territory table. So what I will do is select from dim employee sales territory. So I'll just double click on this since it's coming out. Just double click on it and it gives it to me. And when I run this, so when I run this, so it gives me another table. So this is what we have for the sales territory. We just have the employee key and the sales territory key. So those are just the columns for the sales territory. So it has got two columns or two fields, employee and sales territory key. And I know my colleague said that columns are like attributes of values and rows are values. So for instance, this is a value 272, 272. For this column is just an attribute of a value. That means for you to have a value, you need something to pair it with. Employee key. If you have a value that is 272, what is it called? What is the value for? It's for an employee key. The employee key is 272. So that's an attribute for a column and a value for the row. So that is that. Then the next thing we're going to do is we'll just move to joins. Now the first join we'll be doing, or first join I'll be doing is the inner join. The inner join. So the inner join is like it's like matching records. From what my colleague said, it's like matching records that that are similar to each other from both tables. That's the left table and the right table. So it's like coming together, like meeting at one point. Like you have this attribute, I have this attribute. Let's join together and to form a table. So it's like matching records from the left table and on the right table. So please note that not everything on the left and the right, not all informations on the left and the right, or not all columns from the left and the right will actually, form another table for the inner join. So inner join is more like matching records that are similar to each other in both tables to form a particular table. And for us to make use of a join, we need to have a primary key. Like what my colleague said, a primary key is like a unique identifier, like it's a column or a field that does not appear, on the table. So we'll be making use of employee key as our primary key. Now, if you notice that this employee key is also present in the second table, employee key. So this is the relationship we are forming. So we are using this attribute, employee key, to, just to show their relationship. These two tables, what relates to them, like we said, SQL is like makes use of relational database. So what relates to them is the employee key. So those are the two things that relates to this table. No other thing. So this one, sales territory key, is not present in this. It's not present in the dim employee table. So what relates to these two tables is the employee key. So in moving on to the inner join, so what I'll do is, now for the reason why I'm pressing this, I'm giving space, is just to make it, give it like for us to be able to see what I'm doing. I don't want to get it modular. You can actually leave it, you can do it all together. If you don't want to create a space, it is still going to work, but I'm creating a space because we can see each command as I'm doing it. So the next thing I'm going to do is select the asterisk must be there at all times. Select that's from dim employee. I'll double click on this. So we are selecting from dim employee and inner join dim employee sales territory. That's the second table. Inner join dim employee sales territory. So select from dim employee. then inner join from the right table, that's the dim employee sales territory. On, so when I press enter, on dim employee. So there must be a dot here to separate what you are looking for in terms of the primary key. So when I put the dot, then I now state that employee key, which is the primary key. This is just like a follow. This is like let me just say like a default, in the sense that for you to get what you're looking for, you need to follow through this process. It's just like a process. On dim employee dot employee key. So these are the SQL has been built to be used. So if you don't put that dot, it's not going to run. So on dim employee, so we are selecting the primary key, employee key. Like I said earlier, this is what we are making use of, the employee key. So that is what is relating to the second table. On dim employee key is equal to dim employee sales territory. I just double click on this dot. So what relates them together? Employee key. So there's so once I run this, so it has executed it. So once I run this, every other thing I've selected before will still be the same, but another table will be added below, which will show the join. So this is the join. This is the join. Now, for us to be sure of what I've done, if you look at the rows here, the rows, it says 39. Now, that's for the inner join. Now, if you look at this row, it says 296. Now, let's remember I said that for inner join, and this one says 39. Yeah, so for inner join, let's remember I said that it takes matching record from the left table and matching records from the right table, and they come to an agreement with the employee key, which is the relationship between them. So these are 39 rows for the inner join. Once we actually joined this, so this is the employee key. That is the primary key, which is the primary key that shows relationship between both tables. So it starts, this is the employee key, and it starts with 272 after joining them together. And that's because everything that has to do with employee key that relates to both tables have been formed here. And the sales territory, this is the sales territory for the second table. Now, the employee key for this is the employee key for the second table as well. So like I said, every other thing from the table 2, which is the employee key, we join with the matching records that are on table 1. And for this employee key, it doesn't mean that all these ones, will be taken out. It won't be taken out because this data, they are connected to the rows of this employee key. So I can't just take out employee key and leave every other information that attributes to this employee key, or to this employee, or to this person. Let me just say to this person. I can't take out every other attributes that attribute to this person and just leave the employee key. So this is more like what my colleague explained. This is the secondary key. So secondary key is like, these are other data or attributes that, that is joined, that is peculiar with this this primary key here. So that is for inner join. So inner join takes matching records from the left and matching records from the right and brings them together to form a table. So this is matching records from the right. This is employee key and sales territory. So this is matching records from the left. That's the first table. And it forms inner join. So the sorry, excuse me. So the next join we're going to do is the left join. The left join. I might just to leave this one. Okay, I could just change this to. Let me start from there so that it doesn't. I might just, okay, sorry, excuse me. Let me do. So once I do this, this is called commenting out. When you click on this, what it does is that it makes this one inactive. So it makes this command inactive. So when next I'm going to run this query, this is not going to run with it. And then whatever I do next, we, run with it. So the next one is left join. So I'm going to select sorry. So select, we're still making use of the dim employee. Select from dim employee. Just double click on this. Left join dim, not dim account. Left join dim employee sales territory on dim employee. Using, that's the primary key, what brings them together. Using employee key using employee key. Using employee key, so I'm going to add the employee key as well to this one. So like I said, for left join, what it does is that about left join is it takes everything that is, it returns all records that is from the left table. That's the first table. That means everything that is here, this first table, everything that is here, it takes everything. So it takes all the information that is all the columns and rows that are present in the first table. This is the first table. And now does what? And it now returns matching records. It returns matching records that are on the right table. That means anything that relates or matches with the left join, it takes it from this second table. So it returns all records from the left table and returns matching record from the right table. So what it's trying to say is that it might not take out all this information from the right table, but from the left table, everything that is present on the left is going to be present. But anything that matches from the right table, it's going to take it and join them together. So when I run this together, sorry, when I run this, and I go down, so this is the left join. So this is the left join. First of all, I would like to confirm the number of rows as according to what I've said. If everything on the left join is just going to be the same, and that's 296. So when I come here and I scroll down, that's 296. That's for the left join. Now the reason why we're having 317 is because the table from the left and the table from the right, that's the second table, employee key sales territory, has been joined to the left table, and that's why we're having 317. Now using the employee key. Now if you notice that when I scroll to the right and I scroll up, you will see a lot of none there. Now the reason why this sorry the reason why you are having this null is because the left table, everything from the left table, joined together with the matching records from the right table. And from the left table, we have 296 rows. Now, you will look at this. We have 296 rows. So everything that has to do with the role, everything that has to do with this row, it comes together with it comes together with the right table so how can I explain this? Okay, let me do it like this. Sorry, please. So from this, you notice that the first employee key says 272. Anything that has to do with 272 from the left, from the first table, will appear like they'll get joined together. Let me show you that. So as you can see, this is null. That's because the right table does not have the same value as that of the left table. So that's why it's saying null. Now you see 272. This is 272. That's for the employee key. It's saying 272. And this is also saying 272, meaning that there's a matching record from the left and the right table. And since there's a matching record, it's giving you 272 for this right table. Let's not forget that this employee key and sales territory is for the right table. So all the data from the right table that is matching to that of the left has joined to, they are now joined together. And that's why you have 272. If I scroll to the right, and so if I scroll to the left, you will notice that there's a 272 here as well. So everything that has got to do with 272 will definitely reflect on this right table that joined with the left. But anything that is, let's say 269, 268, 269, you will notice that we don't have it here because from the original table itself, that's the sales territory key, the original table itself does not have a 269. You will notice that the first value is 272. So I hope I hope you're able to understand what I'm saying. So it's going to give you a null because the first value that started with the sales territory key in the second table is 272. So anything that is not 272 and any other value that is found in this second table, which is the sales territory table, will give you a null. Like as you can see, it's saying null. All these are null because there are no numbers to match with that there are no numbers that matches with that of the left table, because the right table starts with 272. And you also notice that in between, you'll be seeing null. And the reason why you're seeing null is because for this right table, it doesn't have this value of 273. It doesn't have a 273 value that this one has. It doesn't have it. That's why you will see null. And if you look at it, you will see that once from 272, it went straight to 277. So that's just left join. Everything that has to do with matching records from the right, anything that has to do with matching records from the right, we join with all the records from the left. But when it joins, anything that doesn't matches with the left will be equal to null. It will be equal to null. So that is why that is left join. So left join, just to tell you that, oh, this is null. That means I don't have a value for this. But whatever I have a value for, that that is related to the left table, this is what I have for it. So anything that does not relate with the left table, it comes up with a null. And the reason why you're having this null is because you cannot ignore all this information from the left table. All this information from the left table cannot be ignored. This is the secondary key table, secondary key. So anything that has to do with employee key must also, must also take the information for the secondary key must also, come with the employee key, which is the primary key, and join with it with the right table. But it's going to give you a null because this right table, which is the second table, sales territory key, does not have the value that this left table has. I hope we're able to understand that in a bit. So that is for left join. So the next one I'm going to do now is the right join. So let's not forget that the basis of our join is on the relationship between the two tables, which is the primary key, which is this employee key. So that's the basis for our join. You need to have a basis to make a join. That means you need to have columns that have relationship in each table. If there are no relationship in each table, like if there are no relationship between A and B, there won't be a join. So there must be a relationship, something that connects them together, like an attribute that connects them together. And that's the primary key, which is called employee key. So that's employee key. So let's do now. The next one is the right join. So what I'll just do is I'll take out this one. So the right join has to do with this time around is like flipping it around. It's like a vice versa. So the right join has to do with making your second table, that's the sales territory, making your second table, which is the sales territory, is going to be the main body now, instead of, like, for the left join, it means that attributes, everything that has to do with the left table, that's the first table, must be present when you do the joining for the left join. And attributes that matches the table on the left will be added. But for the right join, it will be everything, all the records from the right table, that's the second table, sales territory table, must be included. And anything that matches the table on the right, that's anything that matches the table on the right, that's from the left, in the sense that matching records from the left table, that's the first table, we join with all the records from the right table. But for left join, all the records from the left table, we join with matching records from the right table. It's just like you're flipping it over. So the right table this time around for for right join is like the main principal. Now the left table for right join is just like I'm just going to pick anything that is attributed to this right table. So from that, so what we'll do now is select from dim employee, right join, right join, dim employee sales territory, because dim employee sales territory on, so this is where everything changes on dim, because now the dim employee sales territory is not the principal, it's not like the principal table, like the primary table. So on dim employee sales territory, normally for the left table, what we did was left join dim employee sales territory on dim employee. But now, since this one is the principal, it will now be dim employee sales territory. You now include your primary key, which is the employee key, equal to dim employee. Since that is now the secondary table, that's the second table. Dim employee now include the primary key, employee key. So that's what, what joins them together. That's what relates them together. So when we run this one, so this is like the normal table for dim employee. This is the normal table for sales territory. Now this is the join beneath. So from this join, you will notice that the number of rows are just 39. Now remember I said that for right join, the table on the right, that's everything, all the records from the right table, that's the sales territory table, which is 39 rows. We have 39 rows. You see, we now join, like, we now all the records from the right table, which is the sales territory table, we now, like, everything will be present, and matching records from the left table, anything that attributes to the sales territory key table, that's the right table, we now, we come together, we match the record, we match the table together, and that's what gives us 39, meaning that me as the right table, I will still maintain my 39 rows. Then you as the left table, whatever affiliates with me, you come and join me, and that is what we have here. That is what we have here. So this is the so this is the result of the right join. So when we scroll to the other side, let's remember that this sales territory and employee key, this is another table that joined with this one. So it retained everything that has to do with it, all the values that has to do with it. It retained it and joined it with all the values that has to do with the left table. Now you will notice that you won't find null here. The reason why you're not finding null is because the right table, the sales territory key table, is kind of the principal table that dictates how that dictates the attributes that needs to be joined to it to form a right joint table. And this is why you have 272, anything that has to do with 272. So it's detecting what needs to be done. So you notice that 272 and 277. Now, this is 272 and 277. Now, if you look at the normal table, like the dim employee table, you notice that the employee key has 277 And once it gets to 277, you will see 278, you will see 279. So when we did the right join, you will find out that everything that has to do with the right join was present, and that has the things on employee key. So the employee key for the first table, that's the dim employee table. Everything that has to do with the one on the right and the attributes from the left join together, so there are no null, and that is that for the right table and for the right join. Sorry, all the attributes from the right we join with matching attributes from the left table. So the last table we're going to do now is called the full outer joint table. So the full outer joint table is basically everything it means that joining all the tables together. So it doesn't have to deal with attributes or anything. So all the values, everything from the left table and the right table, everything comes together and none will be missing. So what I'll do is I'll just change this to for taking your time. This is the last bit of it. Full outer join. So begin employee sales territory on dim employee and the primary key, employee key.
Sorry, Daniel.
Then-
Can we make this the last one because of time? Is that okay?
Yeah, this is the last one.
Okay, because we've run out of time already. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, this is the last one. Sorry. Okay, so when I run this, so it gives me all the tables together. So that will be like 300 something tables. So this is 317 tables. Everything that has to do with the sales territory table and everything that has to do with the dim employee table, everything comes together, and all the values are present for each on the table. So that is that for joins and the basic command. I just want to say thank you very much for listening, and I hope I was able to explain in my little way what I understand. Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful from yourself, Juliet and Daniel. Thank you so much for that presentation. DJ, please. Yeah, I'll let you take the floor now, but that was absolutely beautiful. Well done, guys. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, guys. So I think let's stop the recording, start a new one. Hopefully that will start a new video so that we can clip that. It can keep that one clean. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just okay.